He appeared right in front of Sasuke, slamming a palm right into his stomach. Sasuke's knees buckled and he finally lost consciousness as he fell against Naruto. Naruto held Sasuke and gently laid him on the ground. That paralysis seal should keep you from running until we reach Konoha. He was about to sit down to rest for 5 minutes himself when the distinct sound of footsteps reached his ears. It was faint, but he glanced upwards and was rather surprised to see Kabuto's face peering down at the valley, coming to rest on him. Looked like he was here to collect Sasuke from him. Huh. Naruto grinned and he pulled a Hiraishin kunai towards Kabuto to see if that would scare him off or not. Even his right hand came up as if he were about to form a Rasengan. The resident politely sarcastic look was promptly wiped from his face, replaced by a small amount of fear. He turned and walked away, no doubt to report to his master. Naruto put the kunai back in his pouch and sat down in front of Sasuke for some rest. The fight had been exhilarating, easily the best and the most enjoyable fight he had ever been in, and he did not regret the hurt he bestowed upon Sasuke at all. In fact, in his opinion, the Uchiha could use some humbling, that the world did not revolve around him. There was a sound of thunder, and Naruto looked up with a smile as rain gently poured over the both of them. It worked like magic, for Naruto's muscles seemingly relaxed on their own. It wiped the dirt from his body and face, and the best thing was that it felt like a reward to him. All the hard work he put in this mission, and this was the reward. The thought of his team flashed into his mind and a frown of concern crossed over his features. He could only hope that reinforcements from Suna had reached his team in time. So lost he was in thoughts that his head jerked up from its resting position on his hands when he heard the voice. Naruto? He smiled tiredly. You sure took your time, Kakashi. For once, Kakashi did not have a lame excuse. In fact, he did not have any excuse at all. His luck had been the worst for the last 2 days. The first thing he heard after returning from an A-rank mission was Sasuke left the village to join Orochimaru, Naruto, and Shik. The second he heard Naruto, he ran out. He had always known that it would always come down to Naruto and Sasuke. He was puzzled as to how it happened. For the past few days, Sasuke had seemed content with his place in the village, and he developed bonds with his peers. So what the hell happened? He had chased relentlessly after his 2 students in a very unfair time frame, hoping to stop it before it was too late. Flashback. Kakashi! Kakashi looked down at Pakun, who ran at his side. It's up ahead. I can smell the amount of blood. I also smell snakes, but not Orochimaru, the other guy. A small relief went through him at the mention that the blood was only spilled in small amounts. Then his eyes narrowed. Kabuto, he murmured. Was Kabuto sent in case Naruto defeated Sasuke? He's going away. Kakashi doubled his pace and reached at the valley, looking down at that sight that nearly dropped him in a relief and filled him up with dread. Sasuke was laid on the ground and his back, eyes closed. He looked peaceful, too peaceful actually. Then there was Naruto, who was sitting with his head resting on his hands. He dropped down and tentatively approached him, and only then he saw the seal on Sasuke's stomach. He relaxed a bit, knowing that Naruto had put a seal on Sasuke to prevent him from escaping. He winced though, upon seeing the amount of abuse Sasuke's body had taken, no doubt by the hands of Naruto. Naruto? Flashback end. He gestured to Sasuke. Is he... Naruto nodded. Unconscious, and will stay that way for quite a while. Kakashi gave a nod of understanding and looked around. The damage was enough to be visible, and an entire section of the wall of the valley had been shattered to pieces. I really thought you would have less trouble bringing him in, considering your knowledge of seals and Hiraishin. Naruto gave a snort and nod. I would have, but this was more than a mission for me. Both of us wanted to see where we stood in regard to each other. Kakashi raised an eyebrow, but remained silent. It was no secret to him that despite of being his superior in terms of rank and power, Naruto shared a rivalry with Sasuke. It was mostly on Sasuke's part, but if there was one person in Konoha that Naruto wouldn't refuse to fight with all his power, it was Sasuke. The bond they shared was strange and rather ununderstandable. And what have you found out? A small smile appeared on Naruto's face, as if being reminded of a joke. He still has a few ways to go. Kakashi could not help the snort that escaped him. I can see that. Looking around, he found one thing out of place. Where's Kabuto? Oh, he did come here to collect Sasuke, but I scared him away. The statement sounded completely absurd. The right-hand man of Orochimaru scared away. So that's why I've been gone for a while, if you did not know. Apparently, he still remembers the Rasengan I drove into his gut. That sounded believable. Anyone would keep their distance to avoid a repetition of that. Naruto frowned. What happened to my team? Kakashi shook his head. I don't know. I really just came to stop the both of you from killing each other. Naruto nodded in understanding and stood up in a smooth movement. I hope you don't mind carrying him, Kakashi. I'm a bit tired and in need of attention from my wife. Kakashi did not mind at all. In fact, he was ready to carry Naruto as well, should the blonde drop in exhaustion. But Naruto looked like he had barely been in a scuffle. Unlike Sasuke, the guy could imitate a dead guy right now. Naruto flashed to all of his markers, collecting his kunai. He really should figure out a better way to do this, rather than flashing to everywhere. Unnecessary waste of chakra. Maybe you could summon them. A summoning contract for the Flying Thunder God. He filed that thought away for later. He came back to Kakashi and turned him in. Let's go. Did you see that? He totally got that from you. In your face, Uchiha. Fugaku was really not in a good mood. Here he was, in heaven with his wife, enjoying a quiet lunch, when he was informed that his son has deserted the village. Quickly, his wife and he rushed to their television, which allowed them to watch their son's every now and then. Surprisingly, he found the Yandere Hokage and his wife at their house as well. Kushina, the ever chippy Uzumaki, replied, "Both of our children are on the TV." Fugaku and Minato were horrified that Sasuke was going to Orochimaru of all people to gain power to kill Itachi. Mikoto looked ready to cry, and Fugaku hated the fact that he could do nothing but watch. But both of them were surprised when they learned that Kushina and Minato's son was in charge of the mission to bring Sasuke back. Ever since they had learned that Naruto had made Jonin, Kushina had been extremely proud and happy, so much that she took every opportunity to gloat about it. Minato didn't know such thing, but his eyes shined with pride every time the talk was about his son. Mikoto, his dear sweet wife, took Kushina's gloating in stride, long used to her best friend's habits. But Fugaku never liked the fact that Naruto was the genius that was being compared to the likes of his father and his elder son. Sasuke was always a bit too slow in his eyes. Maybe that came from having a genius for his older brother. His older son. They all watched the fight between their sons with mixed expressions. Minato was unbearably smug of the fact that his son was capable of tricking and outspeeding the Sharingan. The fight came to the current point where Naruto had executed the brilliant plan of punching Sasuke with the force of a freight train. Minato was shaking his head at his son's straightforwardness and lack of efficiency in the plan, but couldn't deny the results. If not for Orochimaru's seal, Sasuke would not have been able to get up again. But Kushina was all too happy to gloat. Even Fugaku couldn't deny that such a blunt plan could only have been thought up by someone who was related to Kushina. Then came the horror. Both the Uchiha, well, only Mikoto, but Fugaku was close, cried when they saw their son what their son had become. Even Kushina had tears in her eyes. Both the parents watched how Naruto was basically tossed around effortlessly by Sasuke for a while. Then Minato and Kushina cheered up on seeing the power of the Kyuubi coursing through their son. It was literally smackdown after Naruto harnessed the Biju chakra. Sasuke stood no chance at all. But the shock came when Minato, who was genuinely a very cool person, stood up and cheered, "Yes!" The reason for that was Naruto had used the Hiraishin in the same manner Minato had to take down the rogue Uchiha all those years ago. The irony of the statement was not lost on any of them. Kushina smiled wistfully when the TV switched off. I guess he really is more of your son than mine. Minato, the over-loving husband, wrapped an arm around his wife and kissed her cheek. He is our son, Kushina. Not just mine, not yours, but ours. Kushina smiled and nodded, and it really took my words to heart about finding a woman like me. Madara cursed as he handed over the money to Hashirama, who smiled goofily. As if there was any doubt, Madara scoffed at his rival's statements. You were just lucky, Hashirama. I am beyond ashamed that my descendant needed foul power such as that to try and beat yours. Tobirama spoke up from behind them, approval lacing his tone. Now that is what I call a good use of my jutsu. Madara glared at the white-haired Senju, who had turned his head and was innocently whistling. While you may think Tobirama was proud of Naruto's maneuver, Madara clearly knew that Tobirama only found joy in the fact that Naruto brought the wall down on an Uchiha. Madara turned away from both of them, watching the sun. It was only a matter of a few years before he was revived. Until then, he would have to endure as painful as it was. Smash that like button if you want another part, comment Q if you have not already, and make sure you're subscribed. Roll the outro.